All right. Okay. Everybody hear me on Zoom?
Yes, Professor.
Okay.
Yes, Professor.
Yeah,
Oh, all right. How's everybody doing today?
good, good.
Good. Yeah. How's everybody's weekend? It's not for you, Ahmad. I know you just came back. How's everybody's weekend? Was good? Do anything exciting? Just move around, huh? From where? Oh, downtown. Okay, there you go. Okay, good to go. All right. Okay, any questions about any work or anything? Title justification, paper, anything? Nothing? Nothing at all, huh? Okay. All right. Put this down. Okay. So I haven't graded the title justifications yet, but it should be no big deal. If you did what you're supposed to do, it could be easy. Okay. So week 4, and then we don't have no midterm in this class, so we're okay. No midterm.
What?
Why we don't have one?
Yeah.
I just don't have one. I can give you one.
No.
No, you sure? I can give you a midterm. Right now, easy. I have plenty of midterms to give out.
Ask for something else.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
got
fine.
something else? Okay. So then next week is the case study. Okay, so everybody should have their group. Put everybody in groups, so we should be good to go. Am I not in the group?
Yeah, I just came from the
Yeah, but you've been. I think I put you in the group anyway. I think it's you, Muhammad, and somebody else. I can't remember. Double check. I'll double check.
Muhammad Ali?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's you in the group. Yeah, with him. Yeah, because yeah. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So you should be able to see all the options in week 3, all the case study choices. So you just pick one of those, and then you kind of go from there. Okay. All right. And then week 5, you'll see kind of the layout of what I'm looking for the format. Okay. All right. So today, what we're going to talk about is communication strategies when it comes to change management. We're going to do a quick PowerPoint, and then there's a case study on the portal I want you guys to do, but it's in class. So we'll read it, and then you guys kind of lay out some stuff and what you think about it, and we'll discuss it. Okay. All right. We'll see. It's harder to do with the Zoom guys and gals. All right. Okay. So communication and change management, right? And so in general, communication is just one of those things that you gotta have for an effective, not only you know um, organization, but effective relationships in life in general. Okay. If you can't communicate, if you can't relay your thoughts in an efficient and productive manner, then you're really not going to get too far, okay, with anyone, right? Communication is at the key and at the heart of everything successful, and that communication is what really helps people understand who you are, what you bring to the table, and who they are, what they bring to the table, and what the organization is trying to do, okay? And so the problem with communication is that we all have to work on it, okay? Because of our own personal insecurities, our own personal issues, right? Communication becomes very difficult at times, right? You as an individual may not feel comfortable speaking to someone else about personal stuff, right? Whereas you meet somebody else and they're very open with their life, right? They're very communicative about what they've done wrong, relationships, everything. It's an open book, right? Other people are not like that. And so when you have two kind of, opposing perspectives or personalities, it's hard to really understand each other, right? Because you're going to think, oh, this person is telling me everything about their life. I don't want to know everything. Not yet, right? Because you personally are not going to tell them too much about you because you're more private. Okay. And so they're going to see it as, oh, this person is closed off, doesn't want to share with me. All right. And it's not that, it's just that I need to trust you. Right. Within communication, trust is probably one of the most significant factors in having effective communication. Right. We need to build a rapport. We need to build some kind of bridge that we both feel comfortable on, that we know there's a safe place, right? Communication is about safety and feeling that you're not going to be judged and that you're not going to have someone look down on you or analyze and scrutinize everything you've done in your life or what you're telling them. Okay, it's the same thing when it comes to change and communication within the organization, right? Um, why we communicate within a company is different as to why we communicate in our relationships in life, right? But at the end of the day, I'm really trying to build a rapport with everyone that I work with, right? I'm trying to build a rapport with each one of you individually, trying to build a rapport with, coworkers here at work. So I'm still trying to build a relationship, but a different goal, different aim, right? And so when you have communication that's based on or focused on change, right? Things have to happen pretty rapidly, right? They have to either been there already as far as our existing relationship, and the trust and the confidence has to been there already, okay? Or is being built upon, right? So when we look at change and we look at the communication aspect of it, we have to wonder, okay, why are we communicating? What is the purpose of our communication, all right? Are we over communicating? Okay, is there such thing as over communicating? Does anybody think that
It is.
there is?
Yeah.
Okay, how you figure that?
No, by experience, right?
Okay, so over communicating, or as compared to maybe information overload, or maybe too much excessive talking,
Yeah,
right?
depends on the case. Is it a B2B? Is it zero? Is it like no
Yeah.
relationship?
Because over communicating, really not any such thing as that. Because when you communicate, right, that means there's an effective back and forth, there's effective dialogue, right? You
Situation that we are communicating about that topic. Example,
Mhm.
our project is going in this way.
Right.
That project is stuck in that point. We need to communicate only about the project, but group it to everyone.
Yeah. Definitely have to include everyone, but you don't necessarily over communicate, right? It depends if it may seem like over communicating, but what you're really doing is providing too much information overload. Because if you're really communicating, there's no such thing as over communicating. Okay. I can never have enough healthy dialogue with you or your significant other or whoever it is in your life, right? But you can have information overload. I could be telling you too much stuff that you're like, I don't understand it. I don't need to know. Okay, let's talk about something else. Okay. The timing of the communication has to be appropriate. Okay. The content, of course, has to be appropriate. Right. And so when we communicate, there's a transmitter and there's a receiver, right? Depending on who's doing the talking. Okay. Right now, I'm the transmitter. Okay. And what I'm transmitting is code, right? Lack of a better word, right? Or the book has it. It's code. It's whatever um, thoughts I have to say or have to convey, right? And you are the receiver. You're taking the code in and you're trying to decode it, right? And you're trying to understand what is Dr. K trying to tell me. Okay, is it important? Does it matter to me? Okay, how can I use this communication in order to get to this end state, this objective, whatever it is that we are trying to get to. Okay. And so it's important that we don't think of necessarily over communicating. It might just be a too much information, right? It might be a challenge if we are not speaking the same language, right? And even if we are all speaking English, right, we could also not be speaking the same language, okay? Because I may say something that is more technical in nature, right? Sometimes when I talk about AI to people, right, and they start asking me questions, and I go, well, I try to explain neural networks and steps and parameters and fine tuning and stuff like that, and just a regular neural network as compared to a convolutional neural network and short-term memory and gates and back propagation. I'm speaking English, but it's a different language, right? Just like some of you here are some of you more technical in nature background, engineers, scientists, that kind of thing, or even you're just in a different business, right? That language that you're speaking is very specific to what you're doing. And even though you said telling me in English, I'm like, I don't know. All right, whatever you say. Okay. So it's important that we speak a common language, right? And it's important that I understand that you're not going to understand the things I say if it's not the same language, if we're not on the same sheet of music. All right. All right. So, we already talked about that. All right. So the different phases of change, right, that we talked about at the very beginning of the class, right? Each image of change has their own kind of perspective on communication. Okay. Now, there's a couple of different things you can do with communication, right? In change management, it's kind of like four things, give or take, even in life. There's like four things that I'm trying to do with my communication. Okay. Anybody can think of anything that when they communicate with somebody, when they speak to someone, what are one of the things that you may be trying to do? Like, why are you speaking to the person?
Because you want to answer.
You want to answer, right? You have a question, okay? You are inquisitive. You're trying to get information, right? So that's one reason you may speak to someone. What's another reason you may speak to someone?
Understand.
Wait a minute. One at a time. What?
Yeah,
Okay, so same thing. Gather information, all right? Gather knowledge. What are you saying?
Something like selling something.
Tell us, right? I'm trying to persuade you, right? I'm trying to
Like
get you.
convince you or something.
Yeah, sales, right? Think about sales, right? Sales is communication heavy, right? I'm sitting there face to face or even telemarketers, right? That's communication. You got to pick up the phone, call people, cold call people, and then get hung up on, right? But at the same time, I'm trying to persuade people to do something. Okay. What else?
Would you consider education the same as information?
Yeah, kind of the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Educate, So along those lines, right? Education, garnering knowledge or something like that. There's something else you're doing, right? When me as the professor up here, aside from just trying to have a conversation with you, there's something else I'm doing that we're doing, I should say.
A brainstorming.
We're brainstorming, you're right? Yeah. But I'm directing you, right? Think of yourself as a boss, right? A leader. And you have people that work under you. You have to direct them. So, but the only way they know what to do based on what you want is for you to communicate with them. All right. So now I'm directing you, I'm giving you, information, but I'm giving you information to do things in a specific way. It's not just information where it's just general knowledge, right?
The way you teach us, by the way, it's not just like reading.
Right. Yeah.
You teach us a lot more than this course.
Right. Then just we just not
There, yeah.
we just not on PowerPoint. We're talking, we're having a conversation, right? That's one type. But and when I say, hey, you know what? Make sure you do the title certification this way. Make sure you do that. I'm directing you, right? I'm giving you instructions on, what you need to do, right? On and how to do it, right? Because I want you to get a good grade. You want to get a good grade, so follow this template, and you'll get the grade you're supposed to get, right? Because I'm grading it that way. The other thing that you do when you communicate is you may be trying to close something out, either close out a relationship, close out a project, close out something, right? Trying to end something. Okay. Now, things are a little different nowadays, and people don't necessarily always end things. Well, just in general, I guess way back in the day, you don't always generally end things. All right, because to end things, you need to communicate, right? Let's just say you have a girlfriend or whatever, or a wife or whatever you got, right? And things aren't going great, but you're trying to end the relationship, right? You could just pick up and go and never call them again and ghost them, right? You can do that, but is that really the best way to solve the issues? Probably not, right? Ghosting is immature, unless it gets to the point where you trying to communicate and the other person is just not.
Doesn't just go,
Right. That's the thing about communication is that the other side, both sides have to be willing to be open to listening. Okay. That's a pivotal part of communication is listening. Right. And so when you talk about, let's just say, here in the United States specifically, and when we're talking about understanding the Middle East, it's understanding Islam, right? And understanding being a Muslim, that kind of thing, right? A lot of people here in the United States are very ignorant about, Islamic Muslim, if it's not religion, what it takes to be a Muslim, they very ignorant about that stuff, kind of thing, right? So it takes a conversation with someone who is Muslim, right, who practice Islam, to school them up on what's going on, right? Because aside from what people see on TV and what they get in the news, they really don't know anything about Jordan, Oman, Qatar, India, Palestine, and Israel. Saudi. They don't know anything about these places. Okay? And so the only way that you will, Africa, the only way you will get to a point where you understand somebody is through communication. Right? That's the only way. Let's sit down and talk. Now, in the United States, we have a long history of, racial injustice and prejudice and slavery and all that other stuff, right? And we've come a long way into garnering rights and privileges and being on equal footing, right, as minority groups. But that's come through communication, okay, through Dr. Martin Luther King, through Malcolm X, through who else? Medgar Evers, all these political folks, right? Jesse Jackson, even Al Sharpton. Okay, let's just throw them in there, right? Communication. Okay, be able to convey the message to the point where the receiver is starting to understand what it is that you are really trying to say. Okay, because again, we can sit here and talk all day, right? But that's what we do. We're talking. We're not communicating.
There's a big difference.
Yes.
It's like hearing that listening.
Yeah. You can hear, right? I hear you. I'm not listening. Okay? There's a big difference, all right? So communication plays a huge role, but you have to understand what is it that you're trying to do with the communication. Are you trying to persuade? Are you trying to direct? Are you trying to close out a situation? Right? Are you trying to inform? What is the purpose of your communication? Right? And in change management, you're going to use all four. You're going to use all four approaches because you're going to need to initially, I'm going to need to inform the company like, hey, we're going to go through this change. Okay. And as we go through this change, I need you to be open-minded and accept and embrace this change, right? That's the persuasive aspect of it. Okay. And this is how we're going to do it. Right? You are going to XYZ. Now I'm directing you. Okay. And then once we're done implementing it, we'll go back to status quo, right? It'll be status quo, and we're going to close out the project. Okay. So I'm ending that particular aspect of whatever that project is, right? But I'm telling you the whole way what's going on, keeping you informed, right? Giving you direction, making sure that you understand, you buy in to what we're talking about, buy into the change. Okay. If I stay quiet as a leader and don't say anything, I just say, hey, we're changing, and you go, okay, great. And then I walk away. What are we changing? When are we changing? How are we changing? What are we doing? And I just give you something like, okay, here, that's the change. It's on your computer. Well, yeah, make it happen.
Tomorrow,
Yeah, make it happen. You're like, I have no idea what you want from me. I don't know what this is about. Do I start here? Do I start to the left? Do I start to the right? Okay. So those things are important on how you know, or what your goal is when it comes to, you know, not inflicting or partaking in change. Okay. But each one of the images has their own perspective on it. Okay. Okay. So one of the things I know I talked about message, too much information, message overload, right? But there's also message distortion, message ambiguity. Okay. So message distortion. What do we think that is? Message distortion. When it comes to communication, there's some problems, right? I talked about message overload, right? Too much information. There's message distortion and there's message ambiguity, all right? Oh, you mean what does the word distortion mean?
Yeah.
I like to distort something, like to alter something to make it look like something else, or not this. Yeah, you can kind of say that, right? But it's kind of like I change something, trying not necessarily trying to deceive you, but it just doesn't look the same. Okay, let's just say, for instance, someone who goes to the doctor and gets a nose job or gets a facelift or something, right? Their face is distorted. So when you see them the next time, they had this nose. When you see them next time, they have a different nose, right? You may very well not recognize them, right? They're distorted, right? They're not saying I haven't changed anything crazy, but they did change their appearance. They did change the way they look, right? So it distorts it. It kind of throws it off to where you have to look at it again, like, oh, yeah, okay, I know her, or I know him, right? Right. Same thing happens with messages, right? Where people distort messages or distort communication because they're trying to hide something, or they're not really clear on what it is they're talking about. Okay. And so they'll distort it with what they're familiar with, per se. Okay. So when you have message distortion, people are getting confused because they see this, right? But then you say something else. Right? It's like when you say something, but you do something else, right? Hey, turn in your work on time. Okay. And then you go, I turned my work in on time, Dr. Case. It's been a month. You haven't graded it. Right? That's kind of like message distortion, right? I'm saying one thing, maybe having you do something, but at the same time, not doing anything with it. It's just sitting there. So I'm not really backing up what I'm saying, right? I want you to do your work on time, but I don't want to grade on time. That's not that's distorted, right? So you have message ambiguity next, right? And message ambiguity is more okay. Well, let's go back to ambiguity. Everybody familiar with the word ambiguity? Ambiguous, right? Unclear, unclear. Yeah, not necessarily understandable or fuzzy, right? Kind of cloudy, kind of confusing, sort of. Okay. There's no clear, there's no clear understanding of. Yeah, there's no clear. What is it?
Me too there.
Me-
Right there.
yeah, or like I'm trying to think of something that could be ambiguous. Like okay, like this. Let's just say, for instance, me, right? From behind, right? If you're standing behind me, okay, and we're in line, and you see my hair, okay, you might think I'm a girl, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you might, oh, his hair's in the ponytail.
Not you, but
Not me, but you could, right? Till I turn around and you're like, oh, it's a guy. It's Dr. Case. I know him. All right. My hair is making making my gender ambiguous, sort of, right? It's kind of throwing it off because I'm not really sure, like, yeah, I'm confused. Are you a guy, you a girl? I kind of like, okay, because my hair, right? Because of the way I have it. Usually guys don't have a lot of hair. Like most guys, a lot of guys, yeah, it all depends, right? Sometimes you have long hair, sometimes you have short hair. I've gone through all the phases. No hair to long hair to whatever. Okay. But it's ambiguous at times because somebody will see me who hasn't seen me in a long time and they're confused. They're kind of like, okay, what are you trying to do with your hair? You want it long? You want it short? You're confusing me. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really care what you think because it's my hair. I like it the way I like it whenever I want to do it, right? But there's ambiguity. In the workplace, when we talk about change management, when you have ambiguity, when you have distortion, when you have overload, right? All those things lead to people being extremely confused and not understanding what the change is about. Okay. You're giving me a whole bunch of information that are not related to each other. And I don't know what it means for the project or the change that you're asking me to do, right? You have said stuff, but you really haven't like been clear about it. Okay. I don't know really what it is you want. And the stuff that you have told me, it just there's so many different options to it. There's so many different versions of it. I'm not really sure what it is that you want me to do. Okay. So you don't want your message to be ambiguous. You don't want your message to, to be unclear or not people understanding. Right.
Misunderstand.
Yeah. You want your message to be clear and very succinct and to the point. Like, hey, you don't do your work, you're gonna fail the class. Okay. Or if I say, you don't do work, you might fail the class, but I'm not really sure. Okay, I'm gonna fail the class, I'm not gonna fail the class. Which one is it? Okay, somewhat ambiguous. All right. Well, if you don't do your work and I look at it, I don't see it, and then you call me, then we talk, then I go back and I think about it some more, and then I decide to do something else. And I come back to you, send you an email like, hey, I changed my mind, turn the work in. And I tell you about, my day was long. How was your day? Too much information, not important. Okay, irrelevant. I don't need to tell you all that. All right, and you don't need to hear all that. You just like, okay, what do I need to do to get the grade I need to get? All right, or to learn what I need to learn. Right. So it's important that your message when you're designing your communication style, your strategy, that you think about those things, right, in the context of you delivering information to a large group of folks. Okay. Um, that's why it's very important on how people craft emails, why marketing is important, right? And how you craft marketing, because the marketing and the message has to be clear. It can't be confusing. It can't be too much, but it can't be too little. Okay. And you guys ever seen when you're watching TV, you see the commercials for from pharmaceutical companies on certain drugs that have this big commercial say, J drug, it's fantastic. Ask your doctor about J drug. You see all these people that doing certain things. But I me personally, I never know what the drug is for. What is the drug for? Is it for cancer? Is it for people with little feet? Is it people with no hair? What is the drug for? Right? It's very unclear to me. It's very ambiguous, right?
There's a lot of ads like this.
Yeah, there are a lot of ads like this, right? But specifically when it comes to pharmaceuticals, when it comes to drugs, it seems like that's their approach. Now I thought like, why do they do it? Why do they do it that way? Right? Why they so ambiguous? Why did they just say, hey, this drug is for cancer? Right? And some of them do, but a lot of them, most of them don't say anything. Just they say the name of the drug, and you see people doing stuff on TV, but I don't really know what they're doing, how it relates to the drug, right? But why do they do that? Why do companies do that? Or why would pharmaceutical companies do that?
To create awareness to people so that they can advertise their products.
Yeah, I mean, the commercials for awareness, but the way they do it, why would they do it the way they do it? By not necessarily saying anything about.
So you can question it with everybody you see.
Okay.
This is a marketing idea. We used to use it back
Yeah.
there in Jordan, that we put posts on the streets, like asking something.
Mhm.
Like, is it coming? Is that
Yeah.
a woman?
Okay.
So everybody in the country they start asking, what is it?
Right. Okay.
It's the new Kia, blah blah blah. It's
Mhm.
coming
Okay.
tomorrow, like this.
Okay.
So
So,
it becomes like ambiguous and subject.
Right. but I mean, you're right? They do it on purpose.
Yeah.
So that you go look at
So
the
you can
website,
Google it,
you go
yeah.
search for it, right? To figure out what it is. Okay? Because whatever the drug is, you may have the disease or the condition, you just don't know. Right?
You want to give it a try.
Right. You want to give it a try. Maybe you have one of the symptoms and you're like, oh, that sounds like something I have. Maybe let me go check out the drug. In the meantime, while you're checking this drug out, maybe you should check out all these other 10 drugs we make. Okay. See if talk to your doctor about that. Okay. And see, get your doctor involved. So your doctor calls me and says, hey, I need this drug. Can you have it? Can you provide it to me? Like, yeah, sure, no problem, doc. I got you. We got plenty sales. We'll make it happen. Okay. Well, no worries. We'll that's how that works. Okay. So, but that's not how all businesses work, right? Most times,
Depends on the business.
huh?
Depends on the business.
Depend on the business, right? Most times what the commercial is about, okay? And that is very clear and not ambiguous. All right. All right. So one of the things about communication that is, I think, more stereotyped than anything else is gender and different forms of communication, how we communicate. Okay. So as how do you think women communicate as compared to men?
I have a stand-up comedy for 1 hour.
You can say all day, huh? All right, so let's
They
look
can
at
talk like in the different subjects for 1 hour at the same time.
Cool,
They talk together at the same time.
men or women? Men or women?
Women.
Women? Oh
You can
boy.
see how we are just so quiet.
All right, so we're
I'm
gonna.
sure you know about it.
All right, let's write this bad boy down. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna turn it a little bit. So please, sorry about this. All right, so communication. All right, duck, women. We got men. Okay. All right. So what are some of the, I guess, traits or common perception of women and their communication styles? What is it when women communicate, in your perspective? How do they do it? What are some of the characteristics of women communication, female communication?
Woman to woman.
No, woman to anybody. Woman to woman, woman to man, as compared to men.
There's a bit of sentiment sometimes.
Oh, okay, let me get you up. Say that again.
There's a bit of sentiment sometimes.
A bit of sentiment. What's that mean?
So women are emotional. A lot of women
Okay,
are emotional.
Okay, all right. So you're saying emotional,
Yes.
okay? I was thinking about
We
it.
got it. It's emotion.
No, I don't like it. I can't read it. Okay, emotional. All right. What else?
Marketing point, the women can speak very softly with the customers.
Softly, soft
And
spoken.
impress the customers about the product.
Okay, soft spoken. We'll just gentle, soft spoken. What else? Hey, what else? What else? What do women? What do we say? What do we think? Anything Zoom? Go ahead, Kate. You got any more?
So just the sentiment that I meant, that
Okay.
they're a bit tender and can be,
All right, tender,
yeah.
sensitive. What else? What else? What else are
I
women
think for
consider?
men, they are strategic.
Strategic,
Logical, maybe,
Right.
for men.
direct,
Oh,
short. What else? pragmatic. Anybody know what pragmatic means?
Yeah.
Pragmatic.
Yes,
All right.
this and more.
Okay. So I know, Kate, you can't see the whole list, but and everybody on Zoom, I should say. All right. So for women, right now we have they're emotional, they're soft-spoken, they're tender, okay, and then sensitive. For men, we have they're strategic, direct, short, and pragmatic. All right. This is not all inclusive, but this is just some of the more common things, right? Okay. Now, how many people think emotional is true? Not true, right?
Not true.
Okay. Do you think that men can speak emotionally or have emotion?
Professional.
No?
No, we can fake it, yeah.
You can fake it.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we got problems. Okay, so we're gonna say emotional, not true, right? It's not just inherent of women, right? Men can be emotional too, right? Right? What about soft spoken?
It speaks for itself.
I think
Yeah.
men even speak
Yeah.
soft spoken than women.
You
Hmm.
said
Most
more,
places, yeah.
more women?
Most women allows it than men.
Oh
Okay, so
no.
more women speak are more soft spoken. Okay, but can a man speak?
Red flag.
There will be directly answer to the
Big red
question.
flag.
Okay, so Derek answered the question. All right. Kate, since you and Pang, okay? You guys are the women that yeah, okay, just making sure. You two are my experts on women and communication, okay? So soft spoken. Now, Kate, have you ever yelled at anybody?
I don't like screaming and I don't like being screamed at.
Okay, but you've done it before.
Yes, maybe
Okay, all right.
once or
So
twice.
we know Kate can be a screamer, right? Or Pang can yell at somebody, okay? But still, nonetheless, soft spoken, another one, could go both ways. Okay? Tender, yeah. All right, what do you guys think? Is that something that's just inherent of women in their communication style, or is that something that could be across the board? Both ways, right? Okay, I agree. What about sensitive? Both ways, right? No? Anybody disagree?
Both ways.
Both ways?
Both ways.
Okay. All right. All right, so let's go to the men. All right. Strategic. Is that a male characteristic or female? Both, right? Okay.
Not really.
What's that?
Not really.
You said not really?
Yes.
Oh, this is interesting. Go ahead. Why you say not really?
Because there are very few men that have the capacity to lead, and being strategic is an attribute of a good leader.
Say that last part again, Kate.
Being strategic is an attribute of a good leader. I
Okay.
think a lot of women lead than
So you're saying that is also that can also be a characteristic of female communication.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. I think you're saying something else.
She should just invite her to the other class.
Yeah.
Next
No.
week.
Hey.
So we could communicate.
She
more
would.
clearly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I know you want that trouble, man. Men are direct.
It is, I say that.
Women,
It can be done.
they can be direct as well, right? Okay. How about short?
The women can be more less or short. They talk for a long
Both,
time.
right?
Both.
They can ask for like a coffee for 1 hour.
Okay.
You saw the video of the story, how a man says sorry and how
Yeah.
he says sorry.
You know, I see it, but that's one person perspective, right?
That's true.
Is that
That's
necessarily
in
true?
general. I'm not saying that 100%.
Right.
In general. Yeah.
No, I know what's up. Well, pragmatic.
Very short, right? It's both.
Both, right? Okay. So we have nothing left, right? No differences. All right. At the end of the day, there's cases for both men and women in their communication styles. All right. There's no per se like, oh, women speak this way and men speak that way and communicate in different ways, right? Now, why do we think that? Why do we think that there's a certain speech or communication style that goes with women and a certain way that men speak?
Because of environmental influence, upbringing,
Environmental influences. All right.
yeah, upbringing, religion.
So you don't think we're born that way?
I don't think we were born that way because all of the attributes you mentioned can be found in both men and women, surprisingly.
Okay.
So it's more of a personality trait than
Mhm.
a gender trait.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think for me, we are wired differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can speak for a long time about
Alright.
some kind of speak. For me, I'm always shy. I can't face the camera. I find it so hard, difficult to face the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I only speak few words.
All right.
So I think it's both ways.
It's both ways, right? So, okay. Gender doesn't necessarily have a role in communication, right? The thing is that as a society, as a social construct, we've seen some characteristics that are usually associated with a certain gender, right? But a lot of it is due to, like Kay said, our environment, right? The way our society has been structured from the very beginning, all right? What is really the defining characteristic between men and women? What makes us different? And that like the core essence of our differences is what?
Physical features.
Physical features, right? That's really the distinguishing, not even physical features, physicality
Okay.
in general, right? If you think about men and women and the physicality, right? And how things have changed, right? So in the very beginning, when our society or our world was a certain way, right? Physicality is what helped us to survive, okay? Because there was really nothing else. We were more concerned about having someplace to sleep, security, right? And finding food, right? And then, was that? Shelter, right? And at the end of the day, procreating because that's what we need to do to expand life, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about from the very beginning, like the caveman, or if you go back to Adam and Eve and that kind of thing, right? It's the physicality that separates us, right? And so that strength, that physical aspect that we have over women, as far as being built differently, is what is the driving force, or what was the driving force as to how things were being done in the world, right? So typically, the bigger and stronger you are, the more likely you're going to be in charge, right? Because physically, I can't make you do something, but physically, the other person can make you do something, right? They can make enough beatings, all right, and you can't beat them, right? That's just the whole point of now we have guns and all this other stuff, right? That it's spears, and that's why you get all these weapons of war, right, that come about. But at the end of the day, women learn to speak in a certain manner because physically they were not superior to men in the sense of that we needed physicality to go out to hunt, to go get food, right? That's not to say that women couldn't go hunting. They could, right? And they did. But it was just different when you had the man go out and hunt while the woman who has the child stays at home and takes care of the family, right? Because you don't want a pregnant woman to be out hunting for food, right? You don't want, because women bear children, it's different, right? And so that physicality, that difference led to us having a society where, okay, you may have an opinion as a woman, but guess what? Because you don't have the power, you're going to say things a certain way, okay? You're going to be treated a certain way, you know? And this is why, when you look across the board in corporate America, when you have a good female CEO, right? What are some of the things they say about her? What are some of the things they say about female CEOs or female leaders?
Mostly, I think they have listening ear. They listen to.
They listen, okay. What else?
They're hard, tough to deal
Other
with.
things that comes in.
Wait a minute, hold on. What'd you say, Kay?
They're tough to deal with.
They're tough to deal with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
I was like, most times they act like mothers.
Okay, here it is. Have a more nurturing
Mother
nature.
instincts.
Yeah, maternal instincts. Okay, what else?
They're strict.
They're straight. Okay. All right. What else? What else? Why do you think
They're organized.
you're organized, right? Why do you think you're having so much trouble coming up with things about with women leaders?
Because there are a few of them.
Because there's a few of them, right?
Uh-huh.
But not a lot of them. So it's harder to get a sample size, right? It's harder to get a real understanding as to, okay, what does a woman leader look like, right? Well, no, we had them. We've had, I mean, the United States, the only one of the major countries that never had a woman as a leader, but most of the other countries have had women as leaders, right? They've done great. But we don't have a lot, right? But when you have a successful leader who's a female, it's usually she acts like a man. She's very loud. I don't like her. She's bossy. She's assertive. She's a little rough around the edges, right? She's not cute, right? Those are all things that a lot of people say about female leaders, okay? Because leadership is attributed to males, right? The leader's always male, right? But it goes back to the physicality of things, right? From way, way back, right? When you communicate, right? Do you have a problem if your boss is a woman and she's chewing you out like you did something, you didn't do good work or whatever, and she just not yelling at you, but she's criticizing you, right? Who has a problem with that? Mine has a problem with that. Okay, that's fair. That's okay. That's good. That's honest, right? There's a problem with that. Why do you have a problem with that?
Yeah, once she is a my manager, let's say she's pushing me edge, that she's yelling at me because I did something wrong, and it wasn't my mistake. You can't just
No, what if it was your mistake?
it was my mistake? That's okay. That's my
That's
mistake.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But
I'm not
you
talking
know-
about unfairly. I'm talking about just
Yeah,
if it's
for example. Yeah,
right.
but
Okay.
You can't just yell back.
Is it different if it's a male?
Yeah, maybe you can just punch me.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we're not gonna take a man's advice. Okay, we're not punching anybody in the face. All right.
But if he's was yelling at me and it was not my mistake,
If he's your boss, he might yell at you once in a while.
please. Please.
You want the job or don't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
But you can like negotiate.
no, absolutely,
like,
yeah.
From
Yeah.
that man based on us.
Yeah.
Even then, when it's a woman to woman, they can negotiate. easily.
Yes.
But when it's, I've been in a court once back there in Jordan, and she was a female judge. I couldn't negotiate here. Then.
Yeah.
It was my rights. I just stayed calm. I didn't talk.
Yeah.
You know, I lost the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes down to communication and gender, right? These are some of the things where, we have these stereotypes, these preconceived notions that gender has an impact on communication. It doesn't. Okay, it really doesn't. It's about the experiences, it's about the person's personality, it's about the person's position, right? Their role in whatever that situation may be. Now, granted, women may have a different approach to communication that's a little softer than men, but why do you think that is?
Softer to communicate.
Say that again?
You said softer to communicate?
Yeah. delivery is softer.
Workplace, the women would be communicate to the colleagues.
Mm.
There's a workplace. For example, the men cannot be present on the road, we cannot be communicate. Would be in the same manner to communicate to the each and every colleague of employees. Who is working on rate.
Mm.
But the woman will what she will do. Sometimes she can become cool, sometimes she can become. But we discuss about the topic.
Yeah.
I mean about the project and all.
Yeah, but I think that there's a certain
That's their nature.
that's the more so maybe a little bit, right? But we just said that wasn't necessarily something.
For self, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Because even her voice is softer.
Okay.
The way she delivers information, even if she screams, she's not screaming like men.
Okay.
That's nature.
Okay. So goes back to something you said about maternal instincts, all right? And being a mother and nurturing other people, right? Now, biologically, man, we don't necessarily go through pregnancy and all that other stuff, right? We have to learn to nurture and love and communicate with our kids and that kind of thing, right? From an external standpoint, because there's no bonding situation happening necessarily. There's no chemical or physical bonding going on till the baby's born, really. That's when you really get, as a male, you get to really kind of put your footprint on what's going on. But from women's perspective, it's different, right? There's a bond. You have something inside of you that you're carrying, that you're protecting, that you are feeding and nurturing and that kind of thing, right? And so that crosses over into your day-to-day life, right? And how you approach things. Okay. But we don't want to be mistaken, because not every woman wants to have kids or has kids. Right? They don't all have maternal instincts. Right? Sometimes guys have paternal instinct. Right? They want to have kids. They want a family. Right? Not most men do, right? And the woman's like, "No, I don't want any kids." Right? I'm not.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with that, right? So again, if you have a female CEO who's effective, right, doesn't necessarily mean that she's a bad person, or that she's annoying, or that she's talks too much, or she might be very succinct and to the point, very pragmatic in her communication, right? Whereas you have some male CEOs, they're very, very sensitive. They're very, them emotional intelligence, right? The EQ is extremely high, and they are more feminine in what was considered feminine in their approach and their communication style. Okay, so don't tie the gender to the communication, right? As it says here, it's really about the power. Okay, the role, who's in charge at this point, right? Who's the leader? Who's in the leadership position? Then that dictates the communication style, right? For a lot of leaders, right? You could very well be a leader that is, like, I'll just use myself for example. I was very open door policy kind of guy. All right, you want to come talk to me? I don't care if you're at the bottom, at the top, in the middle. Come talk to me, right? As long as you let your boss know that you're gonna come talk to me, chain of command, and then you kind of come talk to me and tell me what you want. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna listen to you, but I'm also gonna go back to the people that work for me, like, what happened? What do you think? What's your input into this, right? Not everybody's like that. Some leaders are very much like, hey, I'm going to say something. This is what I want done. And that's it. Okay. Don't come talk to me. Talk to your boss. Talk to your colleague. Talk to somebody else, right? I don't want to talk, right? So it just goes back to personality and how they approach their communication style. But this is why it's important, when you are going through a change, that you have the right person in front of the workforce, right? You have the right champion, because you don't want someone necessarily that is private or who's not very direct or very transparent doing that kind of thing, right? Leading your change, right? Because change requires transparency. Change requires good communication, right? You have people, that don't communicate very well in their relationships, right? It's because they don't communicate well at all. This is not communicated. Other people are great communicators, but it depends on how they communicate. Hey, how you doing? Some people, all right, they will have a thought in their mind, all right, but they really can't convey it to you, all right? But they can write it extremely well. Okay? They say, you know what, I really can't tell you how speak to you about how I'm feeling, but I can write you a letter. I can tell you how I feel. I can write it down.
And the opposite, some people they can't take, they just want to talk.
Right, they just want to talk. Some people just want to talk, right? So again, gender has really nothing to do with it. It's really about, the dynamic of power and roles and understanding what the end state is, right? As I said before, why are we communicating? What's the point of our communication? Okay. If it's for change, it's for something that's going on, then I need to be clear about that, right? Gender has no role in that per se, right? It's about my personality. It's about how I want to approach things. It's about whether I'm giving you a directive or I'm trying to persuade you on something, or if I'm trying to get you to understand something, right? I'm informing you, we're having a dialogue, okay? Because there's conversations that we have as a class that I'm directing you, right? I'm telling you what to do. And I'm like, this is what you gotta do, and put my foot down. That's it. But there's other conversations we have in class that are more like, oh, tell me, right? The role switch where I'm like, I'm listening to you and you're telling me, hey, this is the way it needs to be, right? Because it's your personal story or it's the way you're approaching that particular thing, right? There's no space for me to say, no, I don't like that. And so we're not gonna talk anymore. Okay, there's no space for that. So we switch roles back and forth, right? And when you have good communication, that's gonna happen. One minute you're gonna be a receiver, next you'll be the transmitter, and vice versa, right? And you have to keep that in mind when you're talking about change management, because when information starts, and we used to do this in school as a exercise, and you might have done it before. It's exercise. You line everybody up, okay? Or even we could do it just sitting down, right? I give you a little note, all right? Write something down. I give you the note, and then I tell you read it, memorize it, okay?
Yeah.
I want you to tell him what the note said.
Like for roommates,
Yeah,
if Sophia told me like, yesterday the cookies gave us chocolate, and I was like, they gave us something.
right.
Or
Yeah.
even drugs.
By the time it goes from here to there,
It became drugs.
it's something else. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say that. All right. Dr. Case was bringing drugs in his car and he's gonna sell you some after class. That's not what I said.
But he got good stuff.
He got good stuff, right? I said you guys look like you're on drugs because you're sleeping. Okay, that's what I said. All right. So stay off the drugs. That's what I said. I didn't say anything about selling drugs, right? So communication, and be careful because the message can get what? Distorted.
Yeah.
Right? It get distorted. It starts here one way and it ends up at the end another way. All right. So you have to be careful about all those things. What time is it?
65.
All right, got time. All right. Like I said, language matters, right? Here we're all speaking English, but then I give you an example of, hey, if you're in a different industry and you start talking, more of the jargon or the dialect or whatever it is of that particular industry, people are not gonna understand you, right? If we had a rocket scientist come in here or something like that and he started talking, most of us probably wouldn't know what they're talking about. Okay, rocket's cool, go to the moon, all right, great. I don't know what else you're talking about. That's confusing, right? But you have to figure out what is the best common language that I can use to convey the message so that everybody understands it. Because I need everyone to understand, right? from the bottom to the top. I need everybody to understand the same and get the same message. All right, I need to get the same message. It can't sound different from you to you. It needs to be the same. I said this is what I said, and both of you are like, oh yeah, that's what I understood it to me. Okay. And so when you talk about, the different types of conversations, right? Initiative, understanding, performance, and closure. We kind of talked about a little bit, right? So when you talk about the different languages, again, we're trying to say, hey, I want to talk to you, communicate with you because I want to start something. I want to initiate something. I want to initiate some action or some behavior in you, right? And inform you, right? At the same time, as I'm informing you, I want to initiate. I want you to start taking some action, right? Understanding, right? I want you to get a comprehension of what we're doing here to a certain degree, right? Because I can't explain it all to you. You may not understand it, and it may not be relevant. It may be too much information, right? Information overload, right? We don't want that, right? I want to give you just enough information so that when you understand what you're doing, you understand your role. If you need to know more information, you need to go do that on your own, right? It's the understanding what is the background behind a lot of the things that we're changing, okay? Performance, right? I need to do certain things. I need you to do them here, this way, okay, and then finish at this particular point, right? And then I may explain as to why these particular actions are important and how they contribute to the overall goal, right? Most people, they want to know why. Why are we doing this, right? It's not even how. It's usually why. Because they're curious. They want to know. What does that mean for me? That's the reason they're asking why. How is this going to impact my life? Am I going to have to come in early? Am I have to take a pay cut? Do I got to work with this guy or this girl? Do I need to do something different? Why are we doing this, right? What is the end state at the end of the day, right? And once I understand that, I can, more or less figure out whether or not I want to contribute to the overall outcome in a significant way. If I just want I'm not doing this. I don't like it, right? That's why many times they don't tell you why. They just say, hey, we need this to happen. It's a change. It's good for the company, right? But you don't really know why at the end of the day, right? The government does things.
There's a lot of whys.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of whys, right? The government, any government, they do a lot of things. You don't know why, right?
Your family,
Yeah. Like, why
your
would you do that?
professor.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah. Everybody, okay? Then you have closure, right? You want to acknowledge the change, right? And also you want to celebrate or at least give praise and reward people, the team that participate in the change, in the successful change, right? Even if this change isn't successful, there's a lot to be learned in failure, right? Because many instances, depending on what the change is and how long it takes and that kind of thing, you may not get to the change. But the process itself has helped you to build the team, right? Let's think about, soccer or, football, whatever the case may be, right? There's only one team is going to win the championship, okay? The league, Premier League, whatever it is, right? The only one team's going to win the World Cup, right? What about all those other teams that were there to try to win the World Cup, but they didn't make it? Do you think they didn't learn anything along the way?
They learn and they celebrate when you get the second or the third one.
Right.
And, let's say World Cup.
Okay. Sometimes changes is about progress, not success.
It's better than success.
Right. It's about progress. Oh, last year we didn't even make it past the first round. This year we made it to the second round.
Yeah.
This year we made it to the semifinals. This year we made progress.
Last year I made 50. This year I made
Right. Exactly, right? It's not where you're gonna end, right?
because the process is gonna achieve what you need to really it's your goal.
Right. And so there's progress within the change, right? Doesn't mean that it was a total failure. And so you have to understand that also. But you have to be able to communicate that to the workforce, okay? Because the workforce will see that, oh, we didn't reach the $1 million goal, right? Let's just say you have sales objectives as $1 million and whatever the case may be. And we didn't get to that. That's okay. We got to 800,000. Yeah, we didn't make it. Yeah, but that's better than last year. Last year we only made 200,000. This year we made 800,000. So we learned a few things. So the changes that we were trying to get to, right? We're successful. Almost there, right? Maybe we needed more time. Maybe we need to tweak a few things, but we're getting there, right? We're making progress, right? Same way, if we're 800,000 this year and we go down 600,000, what's the delta? Okay, what changed? What happened? Okay, it's going to be an unsuccessful change or endeavor. Okay, so we have to analyze that, but that has to be communicated in a way that we understand and we can analyze the factors that led us to either being, progressive or being successful overall or not successful at all in reaching our objectives and reaching our goals, right? That's all done through communication, right? Understanding that each person receives information differently, right? So as a CEO, as a leader, again, I have to find something that is common enough or mutually acceptable by the whole group and understandable by the whole group, right? Because I want, at the end of the day, we all know the mission, right? And that's why it's important when we talked about mission and vision last week that the workforce and the employees understand what the mission is, because they can always come back to that as a guide, right? What is it that we're trying to get to, right? If I lose my way, I know we're gonna go here, right? I'm going to my mom's house. I have 10 people following me, right? Or if I'm going anywhere, if I have people following me, right? They don't have the direction. The first thing I do is I send everybody directions. At least I send the address, okay? Because nowadays, just put in the phone. Even if you get lost, you know the end state is to end up here at this particular address, right? Because that's our mission. So you'll be fine. You might go down this street, right? And you might be 5 minutes behind us, but eventually you're gonna get there. It's the same thing for change, right? I may misstep, I may lose my way, but as long as I have my mission, I'll always come back to that. Right? I'll be able to use that as a guide. Right? But it's in the communication of it, verbally or non-verbally. Right? Sometimes I'll put out some documentation, a policy, right? Or I'll do a white paper or white letter. Okay, a white letter is business kind of term for like informative paper, sort of, right? Something I publish and it's to give people information so that they can read up on certain things, right? So you hear white letter, white paper, sometimes in the corporate environment. Right? We have them. Yeah, I'm everywhere, but usually if you hear that, it's a piece of documentation that kind of just says, hey, this is what this is why we're doing it, and, kind of gives you some information to go off of to make a decision. Okay. All right. So dominant language forms, ideals, appeals, rules, and deals. Okay. So when we're talking, change, right? And trying to get people on board, right? A lot of times when change is happening, it's idealistic. Okay. I'm trying to get to the best version of what I think we can be. Okay. You may not be an idealistic person. You may be a pessimistic. I'm optimistic. I'm idealistic. You may be a realist. Okay. You may be like, this is the world we live in. People are mean. People are bad. Right. And then me as idealist, like, yeah, people are bad, but there's good people in the world, and people are really trying to live their life and be good people. Okay. But as an ideal, right? I'm trying to tell you, like, hey, this is what I would like it to be. Right? This is the way I want it to look. Ideally, I like everyone to get an A in the class. Okay. Realistically, I don't know. I don't control that. Okay. But ideally, when I start the class, everybody starts with an A. Okay. You kind of work your way down. All right. Appeals. All right. When I'm talking about appeals, I'm really trying to get kind of your buy-in. Right? I want support as it says, but I'm really trying to appeal to your sensitivities. I'm trying to appeal to your sense of understanding. I'm trying to appeal to your sense of compassion or whatever it is, all right? Your sense of business, right? If you're in sales and you're talking to someone, what's when you're in sales, right? Or you're trying to persuade somebody to do something, right? What's a good approach to getting them to do or to get them to buy in?
To get their interest.
You got their interest, right? What do they like to do? What is it that you spend most of your time engaged in? Okay. Now, everybody has been on a job interview of some sort, all right? I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the United States, in some instances, right? You might go to interview for a job and never talk about the job, okay? Because they're trying to get to know you, right? And on some level, right? But you have some hiring managers, they're just not good interviewers. They just don't, they're not, they shouldn't be interviewing anybody, to tell you the truth. But what they rely on is what are your interests, right? And you as an interviewee, that's always a good thing if you have an interviewer who starts talking about something that you guys have in common, right? Because that's how most people get their job. Most people walk in an interview, they're not talking about the job itself. You may talk about it, but they're asking you, oh, what'd you do this weekend? What football team do you like? Did you watch the game? What kind of car you drive? Did you watch Formula One? Oh yeah. Oh, I heard there's a Formula One racetrack going up in Vegas. You been to Vegas before? Like, yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, I was in Vegas last week. It's a really good time. Yeah, I went to this, and that. Oh yeah, me too. I go to that too. All right. Okay, so you travel a lot. Yeah, I like to travel. Okay, where you been? Next thing you know, our interview's over. Good job, you're hired. You didn't ask me anything about what I do. Like, what do I know?
Yeah.
I know you know. For all I know, you don't know anything. And he just came in there, all smiles, nice suit, looking good, fresh shave, hair looked good, and then he just got the job. Right? It matters on people's preferences, right? And understanding what do we have in common that I can leverage in order to persuade you, right? In order for you to understand what it is I'm trying to do, right? In many instances, people don't necessarily do things for the company or for themselves because they want to. They do it because it's gonna make somebody else happy. They do it because they don't want to disappoint somebody. All right. They do it because someone just asked them. Just cause, right? Rules. Okay. So when you talk about rules, I'm trying to give you directive, trying to give you some left and right lateral limits, some parameters, some things that hey, we need to adhere to make sure we're doing the right things and we get to where we need to get to, right? Rule number one, you can't yell at anybody. All right. Rule number two, you can't punch them in the face. Okay. Number two, you can't kick them either.
But number two based on number one.
Number two, yeah. Number two, number four, the bosses are always right. Number five, if the boss is wrong, see rule number four. Okay? Okay? We got all these rules. Okay? So again, communication comes into place because I'm trying to make sure you understand the rules of engagement. And you understand what can you do and what can you not do, and what are you going to get penalized for and what are you going to get rewarded for. All right. What's going to contribute to our success? What's going to detract from our success? Okay? And so you have to keep that all in mind and understanding. I'm just trying to convey the rules to you, right? As they're written. I didn't make the rules up. It's just the way the rules are, right? You got to turn on your Ellie at Wednesday, 11:59. You got to do all your working on Sunday by 11:59. I didn't make the rules up. That's just the way it is. Okay? I got to be here. You got to be here. That's the rules. Okay? And then deals, right? Again, we're talking about negotiations, persuasion. Communication is probably the most important thing when you're talking about deals and you're talking about negotiation, right? Think about your ambassadors, people that are in the business of connecting countries. All right. Think about the deal maker, the negotiator that has to talk to the people on the side, the Palestinians, and has to talk to the Israelis. What kind of person you think that is? Okay. Probably very calm, open-minded, very, active listener type person, right? Doesn't take insults or criticism seriously. It's very like, everybody calm down, relax, okay? Because both sides, Palestinians and Israelis, they get kind of loud, okay? They next thing you know, they want to fight, okay? And so trying to broker those deals, trying to put those two relations together, requires someone who's good at communication, right? And understanding like, okay, it's gonna be some give and take on your part, give and take on your part, all right? Now we haven't gotten there yet, okay? Around the world doesn't matter. US and Russia, US and China, US and anybody. Okay, we haven't gotten there yet, right? But we keep trying. Okay, we keep trying. Understanding that communication is the key. It's not war. Okay, war doesn't get you anywhere. Physicality or physical means typically don't work. Okay, we have a military. What is the military? What is as it relates to government and politics? Defense, right? Yeah, okay.
Discipline,
Go ahead.
discipline,
You said basically? Oh,
discipline.
discipline? No, no. Like when I say what is the military? Okay, it's a tool for the government. Okay.
Defense,
Um,
defense.
yeah, defense. Yeah, no, it is defense, but so
What's the question there? What's the-
what is the military as it relates to the government and politics?
On that. Protect.
Oh, it's.
Armed force.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not what it does,
It's
not what it does, but what it is.
It's showing the other countries that I have.
Armed force.
Okay, show force. Okay, you said armed forces.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's all true, but when you look at the
Negotiate with
It's
other
your field,
countries.
so.
wait, no,
So they can negotiate with other countries and they put the things on paper that they need. Like, hey, I'm getting 1, 2, 3. So-
yeah,
That
okay,
one
yeah,
politics, I
okay,
think.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like
Politicians.
that. So the military is just an extension of politics. Okay, the first,
It's like a tool.
yes, the first phase of politics, the first level is talk. Right? When you have a problem with somebody, we talk, right? That's the first thing that we always do. We first talk. Now, what kind of communication we have is different, right? I can be cursing at you, giving you the middle. I could be doing a lot of things, right? But we're communicating, but we're talking, all right? The next level is, okay, I don't like what you're saying, or you like what I'm saying, and the conversation getting heated. Now we're getting physical, okay? The military is an extension of the government, the political extension of the government, the physical political extension of the government. We're gonna come out and reach out and touch you. Okay?
It's like
Talking's
having-
over.
Like having 5 brothers.
That's right. Exactly, right? We were talking, and then this guy tried to punch me. I'm gonna get my brothers now. Now we're done talking. Now we're gonna fight. Okay?
I'm gonna show you how.
Right. And after we're done fighting, right? Your nose is broken, my nose is broken. Okay? Then we're gonna sit down and probably talk again.
Yes.
Maybe
After that.
after that.
In the
Right?
gym.
Right. Depends on how escalated we get, right? There may not be any talking because you might be dead. Okay? That's what the military is, right? It's an extension, right, of the politics. But it emanates from the fact that the communication has broken down. Okay? That's really what it is. Communication has broken down on this level here by the politicians and by the statesmen and all these people, right? The ambassadors and all these folks. And now we got no choice but to come in and fight because you don't want to do what I'm telling you to do, right? Like Ukraine and Russia, right? Russia wants Ukraine to do certain things. Ukraine's like, no, we're our own country. Russia's like, I don't think so.
Let me show you how to do it.
All right, let me show you how we're gonna take what we want.
That's
Okay.
what I think. Like we got the Palestinians or
Yeah.
Like, well, it's something else because someone has a military, the
Right,
other side doesn't. So
right.
it's something complicated.
It's very complicated, right? But you get to the point where it doesn't matter what you say. Okay, this is from just my experience. Doesn't matter what you say to a Palestinian. Doesn't matter what you say to an Israeli. They're never going to see eye to eye on what Jerusalem means, what the Holy Land, what Bethlehem, Nazareth. They're never going to see eye to eye on that stuff because they both think they're God's chosen, right? Both of them think that God picked them specifically and that they should have the land. Well, not all the way, but
That's their land.
Right.
This is the thing they came. You know.
right. That's your perspective, right?
I'm Palestinian.
Right. So, but if you go back in history and you look at stuff, right, you'll see that at some point Israelis, right, they were right,
Not Israelis.
but Jews, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were.
Yeah.
But even though there's two points about that.
Mm.
The first point is I don't want to discuss it because then I just get an example. But I like to read history. If you go back to the history, you can find even in the history they came to this land
Yeah.
for a certain time and they left, which
Yeah.
means it's not original. They're
Okay.
even in the history that they were
Okay.
claiming. That's the thing. And
Mm.
the other thing, as government, they are not religious. They don't believe in what they claim that, which means the government they're politics and they don't
Like
do
a
religion.
mission. Yeah.
Okay.
They don't do religion.
Okay. So you guys are proving my point. You think it one way. You think you ask Israeli. What do you think they're gonna say? They're gonna say something totally opposite from what you just said, right? You guys are never gonna communicate.
Yes.
Okay, it's not communications happening here,
That's why the conflict.
right? That's why the conflict was never gonna end, right?
So Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine is the one of the form state of the
Mhm.
Exactly.
Russia.
Yeah.
And Russia sent away Ukraine from Russia. Russia sent Ukraine out of the Western continent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when Ukraine became GDP higher level, they again Russian came back and asking Ukraine to come back to the
Right.
Russian continent. That's why Ukraine said that we never come to Ukraine.
And the difference Ukraine
That's
has a
right.
military.
Because
Yes, Ukraine has a military.
Palestine has
Right.
a.
All right, that's
Yeah.
enough of that. Okay. All right. Okay, now it's time for a break. Okay. 10-minute break. Come on back. Okay. Don't smoke too long. All right.
I told you.
I know. I know. That's discussing Palestinian, Ukraine, Israeli. I get it. I understand. But don't smoke too long. All right. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. Zoom.
Thank you.
Not
Okay, Professor.
American break. Okay, so that means 8 minutes.
نزلت على الأردن. حتى يوم في أمريكا هي
Yeah. I mean, it's a complicated matter. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like they were there already. They left. They came back, and they want to get all the stuff. It's tough. Mm-hmm. that sucks. Oh.
Everything all right?
Okay, did you say something?
Yes.
Oh,
I can
what's up?
hear you scream.
Huh?
I heard you scream.
Me scream? No, no, everything's fine. I'm
Okay.
just, I'm just old. I make funny sounds sometimes. That's all.
Enjoy.
Thanks for checking on me, though.
of this topic quiz. Unfortunately, I returned the exam. It is wrote back me. I was right again tomorrow.
What happened?
Suddenly I attended the exam,
You did the exam?
quiz exam.
Okay.
I think they didn't take quiz. I completed quiz.
Okay.
My score came wrong.
Oh.
Please can you return back to me? I will complete tomorrow.
To what?
The deadline is soon, bro. The deadline for the quiz. It's key. It's 24th, right? This weekend.
Yeah, the quiz is not due till Sunday.
This weekend.
Yeah.
I suddenly returned to it today afternoon. Unfortunately, my score came good.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, you can't open it again. You want me to open it again so you could retake it?
I want to please.
No. You can't do that. That's the whole point. Yeah, yes, yeah. That's the whole point. You gotta get it right the first time.
Why he attempted?
Yeah. Gotta get it right the first time. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was.
I get you.
This is exam.
That's funny. That's the point.
I thought he said like last week, but he already attempted this week.
Yeah. You gotta take your time. All right.
Supposed to be the sign. It says employees only, the picture.
That's right.
But it was open, I didn't notice that.
Uh-huh. Eat all the cookies and cakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Some more juice.
It's simple. Yeah. Oh, God. All right. Well, they're gonna send you a bill. Don't worry.
They used to do
You're
that.
getting your tuition. Food, snacks, bill. All right. Continue on. All right. So one of the things that you have to be cognizant of is that the whatever communication style you use lines up with what you're trying to do. Okay. Excuse me. So depending on what the change is and what phase of the change you're in, right? Again, you have to tailor that particular communication style to that particular phase or what's going on, right? And making sure that if you need people to, kind of pick up the pace or be more persuasive in trying to bring other people in and understanding what the change is about, you may have to use a persuasive type of communication style. Or if people are not listening and they're just being belligerent or just going against what is being told or said, you may have to be more directive in, right, with them. You may have to become a micromanager in some aspects, right? Sometimes, as a leader, you give people leeway to do what they need to do. But if they're not performing in the manner that you need them to perform, sometimes you have to micromanage them. You have to go in and say, okay, let me see what you're doing, and you're gonna report things to me every day. At the end of the day, maybe 30 minutes before we get done, I want to see what you've done. I want to see what you've completed. All right. I want to see the progress. Right. Until you feel confident that they're doing what they need to be doing. Right. But the communication in which you use, the style in which you use, is very dependent on what it is you're trying to get to. Right. What it is that you're kind of involved in at that moment. Right. You can't, if you're behind in the change or whatever it is that you're trying to implement, and you guys are, where, like construction projects are pretty good for this, right? So you'll start a construction project, you have $1 million budget. You get halfway through the project, you're already at $700,000, right? You have $300,000 left, give or take. You shouldn't have spent that much money, right? So you as the leader and somebody who's managing money might start to tighten things up. Guys, we're spending too much money. All right. I've asked you before to be specific and be very careful about what you spend money on, right? Because we're over budget right now. We're on the track to go over our budget. So this is what I'm gonna do. Anybody buying anything that costs more than $100, I have to approve it. Okay. Not trying to micromanage you, but I gotta worry about the budget. Okay. Because if I go over budget, guess what? That's less money for you. That's money for us. Okay. So we have to stay on budget. We have to stay on time. Okay. And so depending what the situation is, you have to tell your particular communication style to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. You can't be soft. We need to be hard. Right? You can't be mean. We need to be nice. All right. You can't criticize somebody that they did a good job. All right. You suck, but good job on this. Okay. But I'm gonna fire you next week if you mess up. Okay. But you did a good job here. All right. See what I'm saying? It's confusing, right? But also you have to be able to communication honestly is an art that once you master it and understand, right, you'll see a lot of things happening. You'll see a lot of doors opening. And the best communicators, the people that really make things happen, are people that are self-described people persons, right? There's some people, they walk into a room and they can kind of tell what each person is like, right? Talking to them for a couple of minutes. Other people, you could talk to them forever and they wouldn't be able to tell you anything. I don't know what kind of person they're dealing with, right? Some people, they're very charismatic, and whoever they're talking to, like when they leave, like, I really like that person, or I don't like that person, okay? Being able to read the room is a huge communication plus, because we will talk about different things. Our conversation is not going to be the same as our conversation or our conversation. Our conversation will be different, right? Because me personally, I've had a lot of experiences that I can talk to you about, that I can relate to with you, right? And same thing, you have experiences that we can relate, we can connect on, right? But that's not going to happen with everybody. There's going to be some people you meet, you have nothing in common with them. Zero, right?
Even for the same persons, if they want to communicate.
Yeah.
Sometimes the time that make difference.
Yeah, the time makes a difference, right?
The place, sometimes I meet the same friend, the same time, but in a different place.
Different place, yeah. Totally different, right?
Yeah.
Or there's different people around, right?
And even the eyes, it shows up sometimes the same people that you both guys. Sometimes.
Before, right?
Yeah.
You may know them before. You just like, I didn't know they did that, or I didn't know that's how they be. Because one person will have a certain perception of you, and they'll tell somebody else, and they go, "That's not the person I know."
Yeah.
Right? They'd be like, "That? No, you sure that the guy I know wouldn't do that?"
Yeah.
Well, you know, a different guy, okay? Because he did that, right? Or she did that, or whatever the case may be, right? So the behavior definitely, can change from person to person, but that's what it is. We have different relationships, right? Because I expose different parts of myself to different people, right? They don't get to see this. Like, for instance, with us, you get to see me as a professor, right? You never see me out in town in San Diego in the gas lamp, right? You never see me out.
Homeboy.
Right, you never see me out in the streets, like, just hanging out, right? So you don't really know what kind of person I am, okay? You guys ever see the show Dexter?
Yeah, the animation.
No, not Dexter's Laboratory. That's sad. I know that too. But they want Netflix, yeah, right? So
I know that.
in Dexter, right, it's a show. He works for the police department, and he's a forensic scientist or whatever. He's basically the guy that goes out, checks the scene, collects all the evidence, and yeah, he kind of like a detective, but he's not, right? He's more the forensic guy. He collects blood, he collects all the biological and organic stuff, right? That's what he does
In the morning.
in the morning. At night, he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
And now he's a serial killer. That's what he does. He has two personalities, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that sometimes he'll go to his job, they'll be investigating a murder he did. Like he killed that guy, and they're like, hey, we gotta find this guy, whoever did it, collect all the evidence, and we're gonna find him.
Seems he's a professional.
Right. But he's the one that did it. Okay?
It's
It's two different sides, right? It's a split thing, right? He has a sister in the show. His sister sees him one way, other people see him another way. Some people are suspicious, like something's up with him. He's gone, right? His sister knows something's wrong with him, but she also knows that there's another side to him, and she kind of knows where he gets it. You know, this kind of serial killer thing. She knows where he gets it from, but she's not really sure, right? So the whole show's about the dichotomy, the fight, internal fight he's having with himself, right?
Yeah.
One day on one side he's this good, law-abiding person who's trying to help solve crimes. The other side, he's killing people.
There's a
Right.
better movie, not series. The name of the movie is Split.
Yeah, Split.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
Split.
know, you've seen
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
You're searching for real things.
yeah. Split. Yeah, it's Split's like that. And people are like that, right? You know,
You got like 23 personal.
right? He has 22 personalities, right? And he talks to all of them, and they all talk, and and that part of it's based on a true person, right? And so you'll get these different type personalities, right? Where each one of you will think something different of me, right? One time you may see me out in the gas lamp, right? I don't get crazy. I'm not that crazy guy. You'll see me walking out the street, maybe, and like, hey, Dr. K's, whatever. I'm like, hey, what's up? Don't call me Dr. K's out here, okay? Just wave and then
And you
we
like hey, one personality.
Right. Just keep going, right? Okay. But at the same time, there's different aspects to who I am as a person, right? And be able to communicate that with each person that knows me, right? My mother knows me as something different than my friends, than you, than my girlfriend. Everybody is different for everybody, right? So you have to keep that in mind, right? Okay, so aligning the change with the communication is key to making sure that everything gets done right. So different types of imagery, right? Machine imagery, developmental, transitional, transformational. Basically, it's just describing the type of change we're trying to get to. Okay. Now, if we're just doing a change based on the fact that there's new equipment, there's new machinery, new stuff, right? Physical stuff, right? They call it a machine imagery, right? Developmental imagery is more like, hey, we need to develop your skills or our skills as a company, right? Our core competencies. We're gonna switch from providing banking services to providing banking and crypto and stocks and some other stuff, right? Transitional imagery, right? We have something that works, is good, but we want to make it better, right? So think about maybe any company really nowadays, okay? Let's just take Disney, for instance, okay? Disney's going through a huge, huge change right now, right? Because their traditional entities that they own are no longer relevant in society, right? Disney's trying to sell ABC. Everybody familiar with ABC, the television station? Disney owns ABC. Okay? They're trying to get rid of ABC. Right? They want to sell it. Okay? Now, why would you think they want to sell it?
They have a better idea.
Good idea. What else?
Starting something new.
Starting something new. What else? I guess you have to understand what ABC does, right? ABC is a television broadcasting channel.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said once, I'm sorry, they want to make their books,
They want to make what?
their own books. Is it Disney? Or
Yeah, Disney owns ABC. They want to sell ABC.
like I mean, like a box as a Netflix.
Oh no. Well, it's something like that, right? Something we need to develop that more, but something like
It
that.
seems like making them old or lowering their image.
Okay, so it's not necessarily lowering the image, but it's what you said in the old part. Okay, ABC is a broadcast channel, right? Where do you guys go get your content and your news and watch your shows at? Where do you watch TV, right? But where? Google,
Maybe cable.
cable, YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, any ABC?
No.
No,
Because again,
right, right. ABC is a broadcasting channel, conventional TV, right? Granted, it's on, you can get ABC on Hulu, you can get ABC on Disney Plus, those other platforms, right? But at the end of the day, what's ABC's role in society now? It can't keep up with the digital content, the digital format, right? That's because that's not how it's built. So guess what? We need to sell it off, right?
or even looks cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper, right?
Yeah, it's good. It's gonna be more cheaper.
Yeah.
When they sell it, back.
Well, no, they'll still get. They'll definitely. It'll be less
It's
of
like
a
owning
cost.
A car, there's like time you have to sell your car before.
Yeah, before it loses value or if it costs you too much to fix it.
Yeah.
Right? It's just better to just get a new one instead of try to fix it, right? So that's ABC with Disney, right? But Disney's going through a change. They're going through, yeah, it's kind of between transformational and transitional. It's kind of in the middle because Disney is going to keep doing what they do, right? They make content. What their problem is the delivery of some of that content is what they're really trying to keep up with, right? They're trying to keep up with Netflix. They're trying to keep up with Hulu. They're trying to keep up with, all these other platforms that are streaming platforms, Peacock, all these other new things, right? YouTube, right? They're trying to keep up with those things. ABC doesn't fit in there, okay? And so you have to change that up. Same thing with newspapers, right? Who's bought a newspaper in the last 2 years?
My father.
Your father bought a newspaper? Right. He lives here?
No, back then.
Yeah, back home, right? So that's different, right? It's different back home, right? Different with depending what country you're in, newspaper is still relevant, right? So like this, The Economist, right? The Economist's been around for a long time, right? And we have this here, right? This is here, right? But this is only here because we're in an academic setting. Okay, so this will go in the library, you have access to it, you can pull it out. Eventually, it's gonna be digital. It's gonna be all digital. Okay. And it really is. It's just that here we don't have the repository like some of the other schools do. But even though you still want a hard copy, at least one or two versions or copies, right? So ABC is going through this change, right? And so they're gonna get rid of Disney's going through change. They're gonna get rid of ABC, right? Everybody familiar with ESPN, the sports channel, right? They own that too. Okay. And so if you have been paying attention to ESPN, they've been slowly letting a lot of their popular broadcasters go. A lot of people that, report the news, report the sports news and all, they've been letting them go, right? Because ESPN is no longer relevant as far as being a place where people go watch their sports or get the information about sports, right? Because we have the internet, because everything digital, we can get in different formats, right? And so, as you were saying, Disney is going to get rid of these things so they can be more efficient, they can be more profitable, right? And get rid of some of these liabilities, right? And pass them on to somebody else who's more in the space of maybe providing content for other countries or for other people that don't necessarily have access to digital content, right? They'll do it a different way, right? But it all depends on what kind of change they're doing as far as again aligning up the language with the change. Right now, Disney's been really vocal about what they're doing, how they're doing it. Everybody knows like Disney's going through some stuff right now, right? They're fighting with the governor of Florida, right, for their stance on gay and homosexual stuff and whatever the case may be, and the governor is taking away all their special rights because Disney World is considered its own city. They have their own fire department, they have their own police department, they have a mayor, they got a Disney World by itself is considered a city in Florida, right? And they have special rights and special privileges. Well, the governor took that away a few months ago because he didn't like what Disney said about one of his policies, right? So now they're just going back and forth. But again, it's because Disney is going through a change, right? And so as they go through this change and they don't necessarily align with what the state stance is on, homosexuality or, LGBTQ rights and that kind of thing, right? They're going to face some obstacles, some challenges, right, as they start to change. Because Disney has realized that society is changing. Okay. You have LGBTQ people in politics, right? We have homosexual, gay, Secretary of Transportation, right? Buttigieg, he's openly gay, right? We have gay and homosexual leaders, right? In our society, it's not celebrated, but it's definitely a huge part of our society, especially in America, right? It's on TV. It shows, you see people just walking around holding hands, especially here in San Diego. If you go down to Hillcrest, right? They got their own little city, right? Now I grew up in New York. What am I? What are you gonna say? Okay, don't forget being recorded. Okay. Yeah, don't forget. Okay. I can't bail you out. I don't got that kind of money.
My first day in the US, I just went to the San Diego, I was hungry. I said for food, what's the best restaurant? Then I went driving to Hillcrest.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked.
You were shocked, huh?
Because it was my first day in the US.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
I said, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought the whole US can look like this.
Oh no,
With
no,
the
no.
flags, and I was really surprised,
Yeah,
So
no.
I called my family. I said, I think I'm not gonna last here.
You're not gonna make it long here.
Like 5 days vacation.
Yeah, I'm coming back. Yeah. No, yeah, there's different pockets, right, of that. And that's been around forever in the day, right? Since the beginning of time. Okay. It's just the acceptance into our society and integration and the acknowledgement is up here now, right? They're fighting for rights and it exists and it is what it is. Okay.
It is what it is.
That's right. It is what it is. Okay. It is what it is. All right. So Disney sees that, right? Like most companies see that. Okay. And they're making the change to facilitate that, right? Their actions, what they're doing for their company, their long-term mission and goal is to be inclusive, right? Is to cater to everyone because it doesn't matter if you are gay, straight, bi, whatever you want to call yourself, right? It don't matter. The money's still green or blue or whatever it is, right? Or purple, whatever. It's still money, right? And if you have it and I'm providing a service, I want it. Okay? What you do, whoever you do it with, I don't care. As long as you pay your bill. Okay? Pay your Disney bill. Right? I don't care. Right? And I have to make sure that the product I'm creating is something that the consumer is going to want. Why should I alienate a certain group of folks because I don't necessarily agree with their lifestyle? I had no idea what's going on up there.
They are telling us.
Yeah, there's something going on here. So
Maybe it's fireworks.
maybe I doubt it, but it may be. If there is, it's still too close. Okay, we got to get ready to fight. Okay, we get ready to fight. It's moving stuff around. Yeah, it's moving stuff around. Telephone. But
They are moving the building.
I hope not. I hope they're not moving the building. As an organization, right, and as a leader in the organization, right, and you have a certain vision and perspective, you have to understand society. You have to understand external factors. That culture is one of the external factors, right? You have to understand that. And how is that going to impact my long-term, business operations, okay? I have to have a product that caters to everybody because I want everyone to participate and buy my stuff. Right? That's how you make money. Right? Money doesn't care what color you are. It doesn't matter. Right? At the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a leader, and you want to be successful, you have to be inclusive, right? but you also have to understand where to change based on culture, right? And we can see that Disney, which is normally very conservative, right? They watch what they put on TV. People are very much, are comfortable with Disney in the sense of it's a more family focused type company. And it still is, right? But you have to understand that the definition of family has also changed. Okay? You can have a family with two men now. You have a family with two women. Your traditional family, a nuclear family, is a man and a woman, right? But that's not the case anymore. You really don't know when you say family, it can mean anything, right? So you can no longer work with that particular definition as your way of creating or constructing policy or even objectives or goals of the company, right? And so Diddy's going through this change, right? And they're having a conflict with the governor in the state of Florida, right? The communication here is important, right? In how Disney decides to, handle the situation, right? They got to the point where they were talking, and then guess what? Now they went to court, or they're gonna go to court, and they said they go to court. They went to court. They're gonna go back, but slowly and surely, they're letting stuff go. Like, okay, I don't want to. You got it. I don't want to go to court about this, right? I don't want to go to court about that. We'll do that. Okay, fine, right? Because it costs money.
Mm.
It costs money to go to court.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the Walmart policy.
Right.
He's still living.
Yeah.
If you touch him, you're gonna go to court.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
We're
sense.
paying more than what he's still.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. All right, we don't need all that. Let's skip that. Okay, we talked about communicate too much. Okay, so communication strategies. First one is spray and pray. Okay, these are all different approaches to how you can communicate whatever you need to communicate. Right? When we do spray and pray, we basically are saying, I'm going to give you information. I'm going to tell you some stuff, and I'm just going to be like, well, see what happens. Okay, inshallah. It's like saying communicate inshallah.
You say this class is recorded, yeah?
That's right. It's recorded. That's right. Okay, not my first time using inshallah. Okay, all right. I won't be disrespectful, but sometimes I do use it. Okay, but that's what it is. Basically, saying I'm gonna just say whatever I gotta say, and then
It's like throwing the dog.
yeah, that's it. Just rolling the dice and like whatever happens, right? I wouldn't use that approach, okay, in communication. It depends, again, on the situation.
I like this way when you're trying to just hook up a girl.
Hook up what?
Again.
Oh, the girl?
Yeah, like
Yeah, I mean, that might work, right? You just kind of say what you gotta say, and then see, hopefully something happens, right? Yeah, no, that's right. You definitely spray and pray, right? Hopefully she keeps talking to me, okay? We'll see, all right? Tell and sell, okay? This is more informative. This is something that salespeople use, right? They tell you about the product or the service, right? They make it look fabulous and it sounds fantastic, right? I'm trying to sell you on it. I'm trying to get you to buy in. I'm trying to be persuasive in it, right? Oh, it's really cold here, and I know there's a lot of ice here, but you should really buy more ice cubes from me, okay? I know you can get ice here, or no, it's funny when I was in Jordan, I got to go to the Dead Sea. Okay. So when I got to the Dead Sea, you go in the water, and who's been to the Dead Sea before?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe for those that have been to the Dead Sea, the saltiest water in the planet, and there's no real life can exist in the Dead Sea.
Lowest point.
Right. Lowest point Earth, right? So I go there, and then
expensive beer.
and the most expensive beer, but the most expensive mud.
Yeah, mud. The mud
Right?
is,
You bought the mud?
No, I didn't buy the mud. No,
You can find it.
I can get it for free.
Yeah, you can find it.
But this is the tell and sell, right?
Yeah.
If you got a bunch of people, bunch of Marines, they get to the Dead Sea, they don't know any better, right? Some of them, this is the first time they've been out of the country, and there's a guy on the corner, he's got a bucket, he's selling the mud. Okay, this mud is great. Direct from the Dead Sea, I put in a bottle for you, $10. Oh my goodness. I just bought this mud, $10 from the Dead Sea. It's supposed to be good for your skin. When I get back to the hotel,
like the holy water.
yeah, the holy water, all that stuff, right?
I got it just.
Jesus gave it to me, right? Jesus gave it to me.
Just gave it to me, and he said, "Look for caves."
Right, it's yeah. Yeah, right. He tried to sell me on it, right? And then
selling you already.
he's trying to sell me, right? He tell me about it, he's selling. Yeah, I know, I'm good. I'm good. I got plenty, okay? I got plenty. I'm all right. Yeah, I go right out here. I go get some water from the water fountain, okay, and let you bless it. Yeah, that's okay, all right. But when we get to the Dead Sea, right, and we start going to the Dead Sea, and then the people are there like, yeah, just go in the middle and then get the mud and put it on you. It's good for you. And so they're looking around like, wait a minute, is it the same mud I just bought from this guy? Same mud. He just beat you. He just up there. Before you get to the water,
Exactly.
before you realize, like, it's free. Okay? So tell himself, okay? I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna try to sell you on it, right? Get you to bite before you kind of notice what's really going on. Right? It may be very well true. No, I'm not lying to you. I'm just trying to get you to, to come in. Yeah. Yeah, I'm giving you a service, right? Yeah. I mean, you gotta pay the guy for his convenience, hard work, innovative, right? He's strategic, he's smart. He's, the Dead Sea's over here, he's over here. Before you gotta go through him. Right? He's right here. His whole table's taking up the whole thing.
It's like the border.
Right. You gotta go through the border. That's right. Okay. So tell himself. Underscore and explore, right? So underscore and explore basically says, you guys know the term undersell.
Understand?
Yeah, undersell, right? You want to undersell, but
Usually upsell.
overproduce or overproduce. Yeah, overproduce is really right.
To produce
So-
more items.
Yeah. So basically, what you want, you really set expectations here. Okay. Let's just say you're the greatest, I don't know, football player around, right? Let's just say you play like Messi or whatever. Okay. And then somebody says, are you a good player? Because I'm building a team and I want you to come play for me. All right. Do you play? I'm like, yeah, I play. I'm okay. Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. I'm all right. How good are you? I'm like,
Then he's surprised.
then he gets on the field. He's dancing around everybody. He scored 3 goals in 5 minutes. He's like, oh my goodness, you said you were okay. Yeah, I'm okay. No, you Messi. You're not okay. You're great. You're phenomenal. Right? He underscores.
He lowers your expectations.
He lowers the
so he can
expectations,
surprise.
right? Right. But the explore part comes in because guess what? I give you only so much information, right? I say, yeah, I'm okay. And you go, okay, no problem. And then I may know your name and go, oh, let me look this person up. And say, oh my goodness, this person's a professional player, used to play, has a bunch of, World Cups and, all the awards, the gold ball, the iron ball, whatever they call it, I know what it means, but have all this stuff, right? So I am underselling you, right? With the hopes that you go and you do the research yourself. Go find out, right? I'm gonna say we're doing a project, it's on XYZ, and you go, okay, great. And then you go, well, that's it. And then you go, okay, if I need to know more information, and you go explore, right? It's a technique so that I don't have to do the work per se. I have it in a centralized location. You need to go look for it. Okay. So that does a couple of things. One, it allows me to communicate the issue, right? Or whatever the change is going to be. Two, and most importantly, it makes you proactive in the fact that I am kind of provoking you to go get more information on your own, to learn about what is going on here, right? So when you go seek information for yourself, that means there's an interest there. All right. There's some kind of like I want to know more, right? But the other thing that happens when you go looking for stuff on your own, you seem to retain it more. You absorb it a lot more than me just saying, hey, this is what these particular communication styles are. If you wanted to know for yourself before this class, you're like, oh, what kind of communication strategies there are I could use at work. You go to the internet, Google, and you would read each one and probably get very familiar with each one because you explored it, you've done the research. Like me just telling you, spray and pray, right? You're like, okay, I get it, Dr. K says this, and then move on, right? You have a deeper understanding of it when you go explore it for yourself, when you go, look for it for yourself, and you retain it, you remember it more. It's like when you're reading, well, I don't know everyone does it, but when I study, when I need to know something, I read it and I write it down. This is why practical application is important, right, in school. You may read something, but you really don't understand it until you do an example, okay? And so you're exploring. Right? If I put an algebraic equation up on the board, some people might not be able to do it, right? If I'm talking about it. But if I put it on the board and then I say, hey, this is the problem, everybody solve it, and I already showed you how to do it, you're probably gonna go step by step, like, okay, boom. Because I want you to understand what each step is and why you're doing it and what you should get. That way you understand it. So if you get stuck in the middle, you can always go back in between top, the bottom, the front, whatever the end, because you understand it, right? You don't have to necessarily be stuck and like, I don't know what to do next because I don't really understand what's going on. Okay. So that's underscore and explore, right? Identify and reply. This is a technique that they use and basically say, hey, give you some information, and then I say, any questions?
It's like giving the estimate for plan. Like what service are you looking for exactly? For blah, blah, blah. When you reply for price?
Yeah, exactly, right? So basically, the question you ask, I'm gonna answer, but I'm not gonna say anything more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't ask the question, there's not gonna be any discussion about it, per se, right? So it basically kind of puts the Q&A in a box, sort of, right? And you don't have necessarily the obligation to be totally honest, to be truthful, because you may have a change that has you laying people off, right? But you don't want to talk about that right now. You don't want to talk to them and say, hey, this change is we're implementing this new AI software, and some of you are gonna lose your job. We don't want to talk about that right now, right? So we're implementing a new AI software. This is what it's gonna do, right? Unless one of you ask, what's the impact to my job? Is anybody getting laid off? I'm not gonna talk about it, right? Am I lying? No, I'm just not telling you the whole truth, right? But if you ask me, I'll tell you, okay? So that's identify by, and then withhold and uphold. Basically, I withhold information, right, from you, and I uphold the rules, or I don't necessarily. I just follow the rules. I just kind of follow the guidelines that I set. All right. I'm not gonna tell you everything. I'm gonna hold on to stuff, but at the same time, I'm going to enforce the rules as they are. Right. Again, it goes back to, okay, I'm asking you to do something or behave in a certain way, but I'm not gonna tell you why or anything like that. But I'm definitely going to uphold the law. You're not gonna get me to deviate from any in any way in which I'm bending the rule, I'm bending the communication strategy, or so I could be like, hey, let's see, don't park in this spot, or we're changing the parking lot garage, right? And it's like, okay, cool, whatever. And it's still a transition period where people are still parking in certain spaces or whatever the case may be. And I go, okay, anybody's car who's parked in the spots right now is going to get towed. Okay. Now, I'm just reinforcing the rule, but I'm also not giving you all the information as to why you can't park there. Right? Why can't we park there? We still haven't gone through the whole change yet, so why can't we park there, right? And so you kind of hold on to information and use it when it's appropriate or when it's in the best interest of the change. Okay. All right. Yes.
Could you add something?
Yeah.
Like squeeze to increase.
Squeeze to increase. What that mean? Squeeze to increase. Tell me.
Like, just like this class.
Uh-huh.
can I just squeeze what I do for a living, so it fits my, like, just, when we were talking about any business, and I say detail,
Mhm.
like what I do,
Right.
and then, hey, here I go, I squeeze it, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, that could definitely work. I mean,
Because it doesn't include that.
yeah, it could work, I guess, to a degree where if you are trying to get people to do certain things, right, and you tell them what you're doing, and they might be
Not
interested.
in a direct way, you know?
No, not directly. Like not directly. Like they,
It is a squeeze to.
right. Yeah, yeah. You may say, okay, we're talking about something else. You say, oh, you know, and you like you said, I detail cars, and then the conversation continues. But then after somebody says, hey,
Yeah.
well,
Like maybe after a week or more.
right.
You know?
So tell me more about what you do. You know, the intention wasn't necessarily to let's say contribute anything of real
Yeah.
value. The intention was really to kind of put that piece of information out there
Yeah, like,
with the hopes that people will pick up on it and maybe later on have an interest to come talk to you or even do something else, maybe explore or you know do more research on their own or come discuss it with you, that kind of thing. So I can see that, yeah, being
This is something happens in the TV shows sometimes, I think.
Oh,
Or the
like the movies. With,
Yeah,
yeah.
they post some.
Like the actor
Yeah.
who holds
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
yeah.
He squeezes, you know?
Yeah. No, that is definitely part of the movie industry, right?
Yeah.
That's all marketing.
But not everybody knows that it's smart.
No, and everybody
Some of
knows
them
that.
like,
Yeah,
oh, and- yeah.
yeah. They don't understand is product placement is the appropriate term, I think, product placement or brand placement.
Yeah.
But it's
brand,
it's marketing, right? They're smoking cigarettes, and then they have the pack and they show the pack Marlboro, right? Or they're racing cars, right? All over the race cars, all the sponsors, right? That's basically the same thing.
Even society matters.
But not only of these that improve this way. Is what I mean.
Okay. Yeah, could put it. Yeah, it could be. It could very well because then if you squeeze it in
You want to
there,
add it in the slide, just put CCL.
I might. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know if I don't know if I want to cite you. Yeah, they're like, who's that? You don't even want to know. Don't even want to know. Okay. That's all we got today. What time is it? A better question.
7:51.
Terrible, man. Okay. Any questions?
No.
No? Okay. So make sure you get your LE, your quiz, everything on time. I'll grade the title justifications, but everybody should be fine. And then next week, case study. So make sure you're on that and get that, looking at it. You got the options out there. So pick one of the three options. You don't have to do all three, just pick one with your team. And then there's a template that's on week 5. You'll see it on what I expect. Okay. Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Okay. Quality over quantity. All right. But doesn't mean give me 1 page either. Okay. All right. That's all I got. Anything on Zoom?
No,
No.
Professor.
No? Okay. All right. Yeah, just do your reading. Check out the rest of this PowerPoint. Only like a few more slides left. And then we'll see you next week. All right. All right.
Okay, Professor. Have a good one.
All right, Zoom. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Night, and
Thank you, Professor.
yes.
I just asked you, I didn't type of this location. Yeah. I put it like search. I didn't put the company.
That's so you have to do company.
It's fine.
You just tell me that what it is. Like I'm doing it on this topic.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't
Like
have to
I'm
be-
doing it regarding how is it gonna affect on the staff?
Digital transformation in general.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
fine.
Because I used to currently.
Yeah, you're gonna use it. Yeah, you use your company or
my
yes.
experience. That's
That's
what.
it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No worries.
And sorry for the
No, you're good. You're good. That's as long as you tell me. We communicate, we talk. That's what I like.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Talk to me next week. Maybe I can work something out. Send me an email. I'll think about it. You know what I'm talking about. He knows what I'm talking about. All right. All right. See you guys later. All right. See you guys later. What's up? What you need?
What's up?
What you need? You need everything open, huh? Send me an email, okay?
I thought it was rude to send you an email.
No.
Because I had an emergency case in Jordan. I had just to wake up and book an
That's okay. That's all right.
to move on.
I'm just glad you're here, okay?
Thank you. You know me. You know,
Yeah, I know.
I respect the class.
I
the
know,
time,
that's
yeah.
right.
But
So,
I did the first week, 2 weeks.
okay,
I prepared it on the notes.
okay,
I just need to post it. That's
gotcha.
it.
Okay, so send me an email.
But don't forget it, please.
I'm gonna open up for all for you. Yeah, I'm gonna open up for you. Just
Uh,
send me an email
Yeah, I do.
to remind me. Yeah.
I already did. I wrote like 5 emails to you, but I have never sent it.
What do you mean?
I thought I would ask for you.
Okay.
Face to face, it's better and more respectful. You know.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it is, but for me to remember to do it, I need you to send an email.
Now I can do it.
Now you can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And about the paper.
What about it? The final paper or the case study?
Not the case study. The case study I still have time. I can do it.
Yeah,
But
the title, the paper, the title justification. Yeah, all it is tell me what the title of your paper is, and then the topic,
Okay.
and then why you chose it.
Okay.
Just not even one paragraph, maybe 2-3 sentences.
Oh.
Yeah, no, don't give me anything long. Just one paragraph, if
Okay.
that.
I'll send you an email.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Class. I like it.
And of course, I know it's a good class. You guys are good.